Good morning, this is Marshall Davis. It's been several weeks since I posted my last episode. It's probably been 8 or 9 weeks, I guess, 2 months or more. And people have reached out and they've asked me if everything was all right. And I appreciate all the concern people have shown me. The truth is I did have some health issues, and that's what prompted me initially to pause my recordings, and I still don't know exactly what's going on. I'm going to find out next month after a medical consultation, but I think everything's fine. I don't think it's anything really serious. I could have actually been doing some episodes in these last few weeks, but I was enjoying the silence. Now, I felt that the silence was saying more than the words. But anyway, I'm back now and doing another episode on the Gospel of Thomas, although I'm thinking I might not be recording episodes every week like I have been doing for years. Although these past few weeks I have been continuing to write my blog, which is about how non-duality connects to this world of space and time and the social network that we are part of and all that. So if you're interested in that, you might want to go to Substack and subscribe to that. Today I'm going to cover two sayings in the Gospel of Thomas, sayings 32 and 33. Now these are two verses, but there are actually three sayings in these two verses. One is about being built on a mountaintop, another about shouting from a housetop, and one about shining from a tabletop. I'm grouping these together because they have the same theme, and in the canonical Gospels, they are found together, just like they are found together here in the Gospel of Thomas. They're all about shining forth. Here they are. Jesus said, "A city being built on a high mountain and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden." Jesus said, "Preach from your housetops that which you will hear in your ear. For no one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel, nor does he put it in a hidden place, but rather he sets it on a lampstand, so that everyone who enters and leaves will see its light." Now, these words are kind of familiar, not exact, but they're familiar for the most part to people who know the New Testament Gospels. Here's the canonical version. It's found in the Gospel of Matthew. "You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." And then here's the other part. "What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs." You can see that Thomas's version of these sayings is not much different than the version in the Gospel of Matthew. These verses are all about the kingdom of God shining forth for all to see. Now, when talking about a city set on a hill, Jesus may have been thinking about the city of Sepphoris, which is only 4 miles from Nazareth. It was set on a hill. This city's not mentioned in the Bible, but historically it was an important city. It was the Roman provincial capital of Galilee. So Jesus would have been very familiar with this city. And Jesus might have been thinking of Sepphoris, or he might have been thinking of Jerusalem, which is also a city and is set on the hill. And during the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, which the Jews just finished celebrating, but in ancient Jerusalem, 4 massive golden menorahs were lit in the court of women in the temple. And these enormous candelabras were 75 feet high, and they illuminated the whole city so the city could be seen from afar off. According to the Gospel of John, it was during Sukkot that Jesus stood in the temple, surrounded by these menorahs, and said, "I am the light of the world." So maybe that's what Jesus had in mind, Jerusalem. But whatever city Jesus had in mind, he was saying that the kingdom of God is shining forth so that everyone can see it. It's like a city set on a hill, shining in the darkness. Jesus' message of the kingdom of God is in plain sight for all to see. This non-dual reality that I talk about, which Jesus calls the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God, is not some type of esoteric knowledge. It's not a secret. It is out there for all to see. Thomas Merton talked about this using the same type of language, and it seems appropriate that I illustrate the words of one Thomas with the words of another Thomas. They illustrate the words of Thomas the Apostle with the words of the Trappist monk Thomas Merton. Merton talks about his experience of non-dual awareness. In his autobiographical book, The Seven-Story Mountain, he writes this: "In Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another, even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness, of spurious self-isolation, in a special world, the world of renunciation and supposed holiness." He's thinking about and talking about his life as a Trappist monk here at the Abbey of Gethsemane, which is not far from Louisville. He continues, "This sense of liberation from an illusory difference was such a relief and such a joy that I almost laughed out loud. If only everybody could realize this. But it cannot be explained. There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun." Merton saw all the people around him in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, shining like the sun for all to see. But few see that. His words remind me of the gospel scene of the transfiguration of Jesus on a mountaintop in Galilee, witnessed by 3 of his disciples. Jesus picked these 3, I think, because these are the only 3 out of the 12, and maybe the only 3 out of the 70, the bigger group of disciples, or maybe out of all the thousands that listened to him. These were the only 3 who were ready to see. That scene says that Jesus shone like the sun. His face shone like the sun. This is the nature of spiritual reality, which Jesus called the kingdom of God. It shines like the sun. It cannot be more obvious, just like the sun shining on a clear day is obvious in the sky, like a city on a hill, or a message shouted from the rooftops, or a lamp shining in a dark house. It's so obvious that it makes no sense that everyone does not see this. When I first experienced this same reality that Thomas Merton knew, I wondered how I could have lived all those years and missed it. And I did not understand why more people did not see it. I wondered why I had not heard more people talking about this. But then when I investigated it, I realized that people had been talking about this. Not a lot, but there were people out there. And still I had not heard. Like Jesus says here, they heard and saw and proclaimed it from the rooftops. But people dismissed what they saw. These seers were labeled quacks and kooks and mystics or heretics. And their message was ignored by people, especially by establishment religion. Religious people settled for second-hand revelation. mediated through clergy and sacraments and scriptures and traditions and dogma and doctrines. But the kingdom of God is not for the few. It's not for a spiritual elite. It's for everyone. It shines through everything. It shines especially clearly through nature. The hymn says it shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. Although the lyrics are a bit too limited because it doesn't shine through only through what's fair, but it shines through everything. All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres, it says. It shines in the faces of everyone we meet. We are this light. That's why Jesus said, I am the light of the world. And why he said to us in the Sermon on the Mount, you are the light of the world. We could not hide the shining light of the kingdom if we wanted to. And our words that we speak are not adding anything to the wordless proclamation all around us. That's why I didn't feel too bad about not recording episodes of this podcast and YouTube videos for a couple of months. Because my words really add nothing to the proclamation that's already all around us. And yet, I must talk about it, just like Jesus says, when you hear, you have to proclaim. But sometimes I think that talking about it can actually obscure it, that it causes people to think that it can be conveyed in thoughts or words when it can't. In any case, for today I'm using words to point to that which cannot be adequately expressed in words, which is everywhere and always, inside and outside of us, that Jesus called the kingdom of God. And that is it for today. Grace and peace to you.